Tēnā koutou katoa, welcome to our Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board meeting for the 20th of September 2024. Welcome to the people in the room who are going to talk to us today, and those people there who are visiting. To everybody online, morena koutou. We'll start with our council karakia tō mātinga, ngā kanohi mea noi tātou. Ka tuku mātou kia kaha mai ngā māngai kua whiriwhiri hia mō te kaunihera o te hiku o te ika ki te mahi me te ngākau auaha, me te whakamahi i ngā pūkenga, me te mātauranga i roto i ngā wānanga me ngā whakataunga kia whakatūria ai tētahi hāpōri e matatika ana, e tū kōtahi ana, ka mutu, ka whakapiti anō i te oranga o tō tātou rohe, ka whakatau anō i ngā take o te rohe i runga i te tika me te pono. We ask that through council discussions and decisions, the representatives we have elected may govern the Far North District with imagination, skill and wisdom to achieve a fairer and more united community that enhances the well-being of our district and solves the district's problems efficiently and effectively. Welcome everybody. We'll start our meeting with any apologies. We have an apology from Deputy Chair Tanya Felia and Member Harmony Gundry. Do we have any further apologies? I'll move those apologies. Thank you, Member Edwards. We'll move into public forum. And we have today two speakers in public forum. Just before we start public forum, just reminding everybody that you have 5 minutes to speak this morning. If you don't use up your complete 5 minutes, we may ask you questions at the end of it. But due to the number of applications we have today, we're going to be sticking to those times. So Imri has got the timer going. So when you hear a ding ding, it means you've got like 5 seconds to wrap it up, please. All right. If you don't hear a ding ding, then we might ask you questions. Just a few notices, sorry, before we do start public forum that I need to mention. And the first one is a big, we've got a birthday boy in the room. Mr. Riley is going to be a special age in the next few days. So hari hari take out, Mr. Riley, and thank you for still being with us. And thank you for your contribution to the North, but in particular to Kaikohe. We're really lucky to have you around, keeping us on our toes. So thanks, Mr. Riley.
The only claim to fame that I can really think I can take credit for is I'm the only person that stopped Wayne Brown in his tracks. If I hadn't fought him in 2008, this office would be in Kerry.
You didn't quite stop him in his tracks. He's still talking and he's still talking.
He's doing a good job for us.
I'm glad you think so, Mr. Riley. Fine. Awesome. Just mahi nui kia koe to you, Auntie Paula. Nice to have you in our hui today. Another lovely community member that does lots for our community behind the scenes, and she keeps us on our toes too. So just a few pānui in and around our Kaikohe-Hokianga district over the next little while. First, just want to acknowledge that this week is Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori. So we have Te Kotahi e Mahiana Trust, Te Kotahi Tangi e Mahiana Trust, that came to us for some funding at our last meeting, and we provided them with some funding. So they've got a couple of kaupapa going on. The first one is this one here that we've provided some funding for, and unfortunately they've omitted our gorgeous logos, and we'll just pretend that there's one there for now. I'm sure that it was just an oversight on their part, and they'll be sorry for not putting our logo there. So it's the Te Pū o Te Wheke movie night in the park. It's happening this weekend down at Kaikohe Memorial Park. And they'll have a big screen up there from 3 till 8 o'clock. They also have these cool lanyards that are available for anybody that's interested. They're for sale at Malahi Cafe, and I know there are kids running around the streets with them not on bikes, thankfully, but just running around, and it's a $5 koha, I think, $5? I paid $5, I don't actually, I hope I paid. Green is for beginners, so I've got a green one. Orange is for anybody that's got a little bit past beginning stages of learning te reo Māori, and the red are for people like our matua babe over there. They're the experts. So those are the red people I'll be avoiding, and I'll be looking for the greenies. But that also lets you into the park free this weekend, and you get a porta tea and some popcorn when you're watching the movie. So real cool kaupapa going on there. Thank you to the trust. And and that you might have seen that around. That's the kawe tonu tō reo, the carry your reo with you. So that's the idea of wearing that, carrying your reo with you, so that when you see people, you can drop a little bit of kupu in there if you want to. So real cool kaupapa. We have out in the Hokianga this weekend, Mātihi Marae have their whakahautanga o te tomokanga, the opening of their entranceway at the marae there. And in the heart of the city of Pangaru, at Waipuna Marae, we have the reopening of the wharekai there. So lots of work has been going on over in that area. Yes, so according to our young lady down there, Member Edwards, we're in the Rākau Nui Mātohi stage of the maramataka, and so we should be exercising with precision today. So let's see how we go. So with all that said, we have our public forum. We have two speakers today, Linda Bracken firstly, and then birthday boy after. So, Kayaki Linda. Linda is the she's a green, and she's from the Kaikohe Business Association.
So Moringa. Kaikohe Business Association, and a whole lot of other hats as well. So it's exciting what we're seeing happening at the moment. Lots of things. If you want to hear about what's happening specifically, we have an AGM coming up next Wednesday, 5:30 out at Te Kona, where we've got Babe speaking, but speaking on some of the things relevant to Kaikohe at the moment. You'll notice that my green also has black on because I'm active in trying to get rid of some of the graffiti around town. So with the event that's happened at Memorial Park, I know that Chiki and myself have put in requests for services for the state park to be cleaned up. That is not really happening. How many requests for services do we need to put in? Is there any way we can put a bit of pressure to get that programmed in, at least get a timeline? I know they've done a little bit of tidy up and then it gets graffitied straight away. I know how frustrating that is. I've had one where I've cleaned up a site and for 3 consistent weeks it's been tagged and I've cleaned them up straight away and now they've stopped. So it's a case of an ongoing keeping an eye on those spots. So Reed Park is another one in that area there. Looking at ownership for tidying up some of the streets as well is one of our objectives for this coming year. So that ties into the placemaking, and it may require a bit of funding. Another area which probably we haven't discussed, and I probably need to talk to you, Catherine, is previously we had just a block fund to go towards veranda lighting for the streets. So she's pointing here. I know we've used up all that funding and we're ongoing with that, maintaining, making sure that the system is kept running. They're not individually lit by the shop owners, they're in little wee pockets and connected into a system. So I'll get some updates as to where the connection points are and grant Stephen, the person who normally comes in, but you'll find lights go out in the block. So in sake of time, that's any questions? There's always more from me, but any questions?
So did you want something from us around the veranda lighting? I think we'll have a conversation.
We can have a conversation for that and just look at the history. I think we had 2 down drops without any specifications as to how that was spent. I would just specifically tag for.
Have a conversation.
Yep, that'd be good.
Other question. Placemaking, how do you think that's going?
How are the
Placemaking, how do you think that's going? I know you're on the...
There's a lot of discussion and trying to get your head around the fact that placemaking is making the place better rather than just beautification. So the concept being, why do people want to come and stop in Kaikohe? Making it a destination point. So stop, refresh yourselves and head out to the Hokianga. So part of, for me, the placemaking is also an opportunity to do some promotion for this is part of a journey, even culturally heading out, but a place to stop. And if it's looking beautiful and tidy and clean, obviously having a library, having the Sportsville and Te Papa, Hawaii. Pioneer Village, I think, plays an important part, and that's another council issue with difficulties in keeping that place functioning at its peak value.
Any further questions for Linda? No, thank you, Linda, for your efforts in the community, and I'm looking forward to getting some traction in terms of the tidy up of the main street. And you've got those letters that we'll distribute.
Yes, I'll sign them, sit over here and sign them all.
Thank you. Right, thanks, Linda. Next, birthday boy, Mr. Riley. And Mr. Riley's got some various subject matter that he'll talk to us about.
Firstly, I would like the community board to make a concerted effort in promoting Kaikohe as a tourist destination to welcome the visitors off the ships that call it a pai here. That is something that we have neglected for far too long. We've got a lot of unique assets here, not least is the Pioneer Village, and a number of maraes around the area that are very handy to visit. An excellent example, and a 40,000-year-old tourist trail. Don't see that very often. However, the Honours Board, I mentioned that some time ago, nothing's been done to it. It's almost an insult to the people that have been part of their community for the last 7 years not to be recognised. It could be brought up to date, and even the years back to 2007 filled in. Kaikohe's main street is a bit of a disgrace, as are most of the gutters around the street, around the town. When grass grows that long and weeds, and the mud that's lying in there means that street sweeping hasn't been done for quite some time. It's been neglected. It's simply not good enough. And I am greatly appalled at the litter on the roadsides, mostly drink containers. And I can remember Mrs. Sharp doing something about it once. She staged a successful prosecution because I was able to identify a letter in a rubbish bag dumped on the side of the road in front of our gate. Some of this can be identified. Some people see these people doing these things. And if we can catch them, we can do something about it and somehow break a pernicious habit. That's enough today.
Thanks, Mr. Riley. You haven't used up your 5 minutes, so if anyone's got any questions for Mr. Riley.
I can provide some feedback about the Honours Board, Sean. Nominations for the awards will be starting in February, the opening in February, and then the awards will be held at the Matariki Citizenship Ceremony, and the winners will be added to the boards. That will all be happening next year.
Will you backdate it?
I will have to ask the people who are, I think we'll probably just be starting from that point because there'll be it's a new process, it's a new system, and there'll be new nominations and new awards. But I can ask that question. But be assured it's happening, and so it's going to be in place starting next year.
Well, one more question. What do you attribute your long life to, Sean?
I don't honestly know. It might be in the gene because my grandfather and my mother both got over 90, so that I've got I think a day or two to play with yet. I'm not sure that I couldn't guarantee the 100, but it'd be nice to get a King George medal. But we'll see what we can do about it.
Just a bit of an update, Sean, just in terms of litter. Maybe long life is due to your community focus, and you've been a champion within the community for a long time. Or drinking New Zealand cow's milk. But anyway, just on that's a dairy farmer, but just answering your litter question, I just do a bit of a shout out if I can to intermediate school, as I was driving past and I saw them walk across the crossing in front of me, and then went down the other side, and then they started picking up litter. I didn't know that that's the normal thing, and I'm grateful to do that. And I actually sent an email and got a response back. Please that someone noticed, but yeah, so there are people out there doing it.
Yes. Thank you, John. Thanks, Mr.
I
Riley.
just forgot something. I object strongly, in the strongest possible term, the blackout in the agenda. It didn't used to happen. It's public knowledge or public information should be freely available. And the easiest way to keep something low key is put it out there so everybody can see it. They don't take any notice. That blackout has got to stop. I'm serious about it because if you have to, I'll even take it to the local government commission.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. We have come across that before from you, and I'll ask staff member Catherine to respond again.
Responding on that one, our legal department has advised that we must cover up the personal identification, so names, well, not necessarily names, but addresses, phone numbers and emails of those who are applying, because people have been using it in nefarious ways and it has been inappropriate. So our legal department are the ones who advised us that we need to redact that information.
I'll still take it.
Thank you,
It's your
Mr.
decision.
Riley. Okay. And the last public forum speaker is none other than the mother of the Kaikohe Intermediate School principal, Materoa.
Oh, kia ora.
Kia ora, Materoa. So Materoa is going to speak to us about the old Rankin Street morgue.
Yes,
Oh,
yes, dear.
fine.
I just, do I have to come up here?
Only if you want to. If you're comfortable standing, you can stand. But
Okay. I'm a bit concerned with the Rankin Road undertaker there. O mahi, hiki at the tapu, o tēnā wāhi. I'm just asking about it. Because whānau is involved there. They own shares of that whenua, I will first know that.
don't know.
Now, I'm only concerned about it because all our tupunas has come out of there. All our tupunas has come out of there. And I want to know, ko mahi te tapu o tēnā wāhi. Kia me kōrero wini mea, ko kōrero kia te mea o te koutou pōhi ngari i te treaty, so I'm just bringing it onto the table to see if anything's been done about it. And I think we're going to do something about it.
Councillor Huff.
I think we're talking about
Undertaker,
the old
building.
old premises of Islands,
Squires.
which is down this close thing there. And it is a concern for the Ngāhapo Kaikohe, whether or not the
when you heard whether or not I suppose the disbursement of the fluids and all that was actually covered, and how was that done, and also whether there was a blessing put on there, so that because of the number, I suppose body that and through there. I think that's
my point.
Yeah, that's the point.
Fine.
And whether or not we've had that somewhere.
So I think that kia koutou,
Aye.
a koutou whiriwhiri tēnā kaupapa.
Aye. Ai tērā kaupapa. Aye. Thank you, Matiro. Aye. Any questions? No. Okay, thank you. Really good kaupapa that we'll follow up on. Okay, moving on to our deputations. You'll all have in front of you some papers by our next speaker, Matua Wally Hicks, regarding relocalisation of governance. Tēnā koe, Wally. Kia ora.
Thank you for considering my deputation today. I'm here to pay my respects to you all, and thanks especially today to Matua Sean. And I currently hear John Yusuf. I actually have the newspaper, John, that has inspired this, and thank you so much. And you and I have worked on the question of localism for quite a long time, on and off. Now being called super localism, its other names are relocalisation. I was on a Zoom this morning with a international group who call it deep transformation. But the name that appears most often and that I like the most is resilient communities, because it's appearing all over the place. And it seems to me to relate to the kind of area that I'm talking about, which is, roughly speaking, the area of an area emergency plan. I think that we need to consider, if we're going to consider well-being, we need to consider it on this kind of level, and that there may be a place for a grassroots level of, I call it kaina rohi, or settlement area council or board, for that purpose. Some other indications, very strong indications in my opinion, lately have been that it may be a pandemic isolation area. And it may even be an area where we might want to try and have an area where it's relatively self-sufficient in food, or could be for possibly a considerable period of time, if we're cut off from each other by things like weather events and the other possibilities. I would like to commend to you the summary of it that's been provided by Emery. My essay is still a little bit a work in progress. So community resilience, I think that the need is obvious. I did leave a paragraph out. I'm not talking about any settlement area being ruled by Marai Committee and Town Hall Committee. What I'm talking about is those two existing organs of governance, because I think it's indisputable that they are, forming the po, or the po of a whare, which I call, among other things, Marae Ture, or Legislative Assembly, which is quite a big name for a very local thing. Into that whare could come a lot of other people and a lot of other groups. For instance, business association, residents and ratepayers, charity organisations and trusts that exist in the community, But we could have a crack at citizens' assembly, which is being talked about a lot nowadays. I don't think we get 100 people in North Hokianga, but we might get 10 who are willing to kind of randomly be on a committee for a few months. Or, yes, thank you, or a school citizens' assembly. That's the essence of my submission and my invitation for you to consider. Small is beautiful. E.F. Schumacher, written in 1975, and I think that I think it's almost indisputable that we are going back there to some extent or other. And I hope I've explained that I'm not talking about making people get together. The Marae Committee are going to meet separately, Town Hall Committee are going to meet separately. Is there a place for them to meet together? Could it be a local governance, Marae Ture or Legislative Assembly? I'd like to finish by saying that I looked on Te Ara Encyclopedia New Zealand yesterday for, and they are there for the Spanish flu mortality figures. And they're divided into exactly the kind of areas that I'm talking about. I mean, Hokianga is one, but I think that the communities that Dr. McCall-Smith isolated were considerably smaller than that. I realise I have to wind up.
Yes.
I'd like to add one more. There's a favourite philosopher of mine that I've quoted in there, and I'd like to add one more quote to that. It's quite short and simple. Self-preservation is the fundamental characteristic of all life. Every person, indeed every living thing, carries this characteristic within it. Only the command of love permits of self-preservation by all.
Thank you, Molly. Hi, we've run out of time for questions. Thank you for your presentation today, Molly, and the papers that you have left with us.
Thank you.
Well done, Councillor Busich, for your acknowledgement in that and the work that you do in the localism arena. Our next speaker, we'll move to speakers now, and I'm going to invite David Senior from the Northern Community Family Service Financial Mentoring.
Thank you. Is it okay if I just stand here?
You're more than welcome to stand there, David.
Thank you very much for the opportunity of coming and speaking to our application. We primarily run a budgeting service, but it's but more holistic than that. We find a lot of people that come across our path have all sorts of other issues, so we end up doing what we call whānau support, I guess, and putting them on to where they need to be or helping them to achieve some of the things they need to achieve. Just a little bit of history. We've been going for a number of years. My wife and I have only been involved for the last 2 years on the board. You know, there's a lot more people coming to see us now with all sorts of multiple issues besides budgeting. And we also work in conjunction with a food bank there. So we've got 2 part-time contract workers, and they spend a lot of time handing out food parcels and working with individuals. So we put our application into this one and also into the Bay of Islands Community Board. And it was suggested 2 years ago that we put an application in here because a lot of our clients come from this area. We seem to have clients from all over the place, not just the Bay of Islands area. And it was suggested by the board at the time that we apply here. Well, you would have seen in the application that, if you've read it, that last year was a very difficult year for us. Our manager was away sick with a number of issues in hospital. So we didn't get a lot of funding applications in last year. So it's been really challenging to keep the service going. And in fact, our two paid contractors actually took 2 months off without any pay just to keep the office going. So, you know, it's just around, there's a lot of stuff happening, not just around giving out food parcels, but also that whole budgeting thing and so forth. A lot of people really struggling. I just need to let you know, if you were seen in there, we would have put some other applications in. I just need to update you where that's at. And we applied for around 13,000. I can't remember the exact figure from the pub charities people. Well, we actually got 7, and we applied for 10 from COGS, and we got 5. Now, the one other one that's still outstanding is the lotteries one, and we haven't heard from them. We won't hear from them until about October. So that's still happening. But that's where things are at the moment. So, look, without talking too much about it, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, David. We do have 1 minute and 42 seconds left. So, Member McVeigh.
Kia ora, David. Thank you for that. You talked about a lot of your clients come from Kaikohe-Hokianga area. Do you have an estimate of how many people?
I think with your papers there should be a pie chart that shows how many from this area there would be. I wouldn't have the figures offhand, but I know that when we put the application in the late June, we had over 800 clients the first months, more since.
Page 339 for members. I have a question, David, just in terms of numbers, how many people would you see across the district over a year?
Well, like I say, in June, we did a calculation for the year up till then, and we've seen over 800. And since then, it's increased by another 100 or 2. They seem to be coming in. We seem to be coming in all over the place at the moment, because a lot of the other services like WINS and so forth have been sending people to us and other agencies, because there just don't appear to be a lot of action happening. So a lot of people need a lot of support, you know, and that can be anything from food parcels right through to finding housing and all that sort of stuff. We can't turn people away, so we've got to actually help them to go to the right places to get what they are, you know, what they need, really.
Questions for David? No. Okay, thank you, David.
Thank you.
Good work that you're
I'm
doing.
going to have to slip out of my other commitments, but thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to our next speaker, and we're going to go online to all the way over to Puhupuhu, to Louis Tolich, who is here, who's online representing the Kaikohe Fishing, Hunting and Sports Club. So if members would like to turn to page 50, that refers to Rewi's application. Kia ora, Rewi. Kei a koe.
Kia ora tātou. Firstly, just like to acknowledge the council in your vote last week. Congratulations, Babe, and the rest of the councillors on the voting of the Māori wards. Just seeking assistance for the Kaikohe Hunting and Fishing Club. We are the only sports hub on the north side of the Hokianga. We currently have for those that know, we're having a resurgence of rugby that we've developed our own junior grade in the last 2 years. We played the North-South Hokianga game on the weekend. We've got paid roles in the Hokianga through Northland Rugby. We're actually working with Northland Rugby to integrate rugby in schools. We've just been given another paid position through Rugby for Life with Tōhari o Tawake to work with the clubs to grow sports in the region. Currently, our Kaikohe Hunting and Fishing Club is the only sports sort of hub this side in the Hokianga, on the north side of the Hokianga, where it can be used to host facilities in terms of under 16s and away teams. We're the only sort of facility there, and it kind of falls on us as the Hokianga to facilitate all of that. And basically, we just need a hand. So I made a submission, obviously last year, and it was suggested that we come back to council as an interim measure just to help as long as the council can take over the maintenance. But yeah, it's costing us an arm and a leg with the resurgence and just the use. Kia ora.
Thanks, Riwi. Anybody have any questions for Riwi? Riwi, I just noticed your quote was from somebody on the Rawene side. Is there nobody on your side that perhaps could pick that up?
Yeah, there was one. There was a supply from Tupperware, but it was still cheaper to go with the one from Rawene. It is expensive because we're rural and road. Otherwise, we'd have to go for someone from either Kaikohe or somewhere else. But that's probably that was the closest provider. Yeah, there was a Tupperware service, but even they were too expensive. Yep.
No other questions for Riwi? I just have a question for staff around the maintenance schedule. Has it been confirmed that the club will be taken over by the maintenance team in July?
Yeah, beginning of the new financial year, July 2025.
Okay. So Riwi, without flicking back through your application, how many mows will that effectively give you for the amount that you're requesting?
I'd have to check. I think we asked for 15 because obviously the summer months didn't do that, so it might be reduced now because it's obviously taken a while. But yeah, we just need to get on top of it. But it would be at the time of the application, we said I think 2 months ago it might have been around 15 mows, so we probably need less now.
That's okay. And the name of your club suggests that it's used for other things other than rugby.
Yeah. Oh, yes. So we obviously use it for touch. It's been used through. It's been used from touch in the summer. It's also used for cricket. We also have a lot of cross codes. We have a lot of women's teams. We have marae that have like the Kitty Topa, Christopher Harris. It's a multifunctional hub that's used for the whole community. Like we said, obviously everyone knows we don't have a functioning town hall. We've even had a few wakes in there. So we've been lucky enough that we've actually upgraded the internal of the facility where we've got a functional kitchen. So it's actually been used as a multiple hub for, I think it's been used for a youth program, for other stuff. So it really, like I said, we don't have many hubs other than our marae. So it's a multi-purpose hub at the moment.
Well done. Thank you for the work that you're doing over there for the community. Yeah, well done. Thank you, Riwi. Okay, we'll move on to our next speaker. To Max Cochran, who's representing Te Reo Piriwiri Tour Brass Band. And if members would like to go to item 7.2 on page 82, that refers to Max's application. Thank you, Max.
Kia ora tātou, oino tātou te ino maku ke tukatu mā whakaro tātou rungarongo. Mō tōna nei, te hote tēnei wāo ki te ahau, ki te pōre te koutu, te kaunihera o te tiko te ika. Kua rāta ko Peteroni tia, moi mai. Tātou mā hōharo, ora i tātou tēne tūli o tēnei tātou whare, nā reira tēnā tātou. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity once more to resubmit. It's a resubmission. Back in June this year, we put an application in to help us to assist us in celebrating the 90th year of Te Reo Piriwiri Tour. And probably it's given us an opportunity to look a little bit further back and gather more information. In fact, The birth of Te Reo Piriwiri actually began back in 1929, finding more information on the history by Te Repi Williams, first instigators. But this application resubmission is just to forward and take this thing a bit further forward as our celebration is coming up quite quickly on us. Within the next 3 weeks or 4 weeks, we'll be celebrating around the 10th, 11th and 12th of October, which is pretty close to the day of the birth of Te Reo Piriwiri Tour. I don't have much more to add to our application. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Catherine here for keeping me in line and cracking the whip, and also to my young team, which would bring me through to take over the roles as myself for this sort of engagements and stuff like that. So, and helping me do the application correctly. So I don't have much more to add, so I'll just hand it over to you. If there's any questions you'd like to fire to me, I'll try my hardest to answer them or whatever.
Kia ora. Any questions for Max? Please.
Ia na kia koe Max, I had a wai ki te tokuru te tono te Piriwiri tour. How many people are you expecting to attend this?
We had our updated meeting just Wednesday night. Elizabeth here is our secretary, and today we have exceeded registered and paid up ex-members and their whānau to the excess of about almost 260 being signed on and registered in attendance. We are also thinking to have our tūmahu, Te Hahi and his local will be attending, so it's really cool. And I believe, I stand corrected, that we have extended to the councillors, to our board here. You're more than welcome to attend our celebration dinner, which is going to be held at the Memorial Hall. So that still stands, and everything is going really tickety-boo at the moment, and we've been going hard out for the last year or so, trying to fundraise ourselves through all avenues that we could possibly do. And we're at the point now where we're starting to pay for outside contracting some of the catering services outsourcing, and we're at that point now where we're hitting the road running.
Yeah, just one final question. Yeah. When is the program for the 3 days likely to come out?
The program is out now. We can actually we'll email a copy to either to Thing or through Catherine, if that's okay with Catherine. And then, yeah, each of you can receive one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation today, and good luck with all celebrations. At this point, I know that 2 of our community board members will be attending, myself and Ophelia.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
you. Okay, next off the ranks from Kaikohe Rugby Football Sports Club, Deb Wilson. Kia ora, Deb. Hi, everyone. For members, the application is on page 50.
Thank you for having me. I've also got me. First time for me, so
no gentle.
Yeah, go gentle, and I'm going to.
You're there.
Yeah, go gentle. I'm going to read it because I forget. So, Kaikohe Rugby Football Sports Club is 146 years old this year. We have several All Blacks and Northern level players over the years who we wish to celebrate. As a club, we have 10 junior teams plus a league and a senior men's team. Also looking this year as if we may have another women's team. Over the years, there's also been an incorporation of netball and softball teams. The club is really involved with the schools in promoting rugby, and we have many coaches and managers who are working hard to get our Kaikohe and surrounding kids to play a sport. We currently have Cormany Merino running an under-16 girls tag trial, which is a new game, a new sport, but we're hoping to bring them under our umbrella. We have a couple of touch teams playing this summer. These one touch team is our Fijian families that have joined the Kaikohe community. They all work at the at corrections. They've been given houses in town. They're renting houses in town, and their families are coming over. And I think they're going to be really nice members of our community. So they've played for rugby, and they're having the Fiji Day down there in October, but they've been using the club a lot. These teams, they specially promote alcohol and drug-free sports, which our league does as well. We currently have the Hokianga rep team training at our club. They're off to play the Bay at Okara Park in 3 weeks, so that's quite exciting. Several of our players have gone out to play represent the Hoki. And we're also helping open only rugby club to get up and running. We have a bit of an excess of some training gear, so we're going to pass that on to them. We've good support from local people and businesses, but always find it's a struggle in our town as our people are struggling. We see the sport as a way to help kids out. A lot of them have loads and loads of potential, and they just need it directed in the right direction. So we're hoping to have a club renovation underway in 2025. The club has not had a reunion since the 70s when they opened the Penny Crescent entrance and the new club room. A small-scale reunion was held around 1990. So we decided that although 146 was not a notable milestone, that it was time to have a reunion, as a lot of our old-timers have passed away recently, and we really need to keep the history going. So we're hoping to have lots of kids turn up to the past-present game and meet our ex-All Blacks and our Black Fern and our two Māori All Black present that will be present for the children to meet. So we have a big marquee going on Field 1. Field 2 out the back is for camping. A lot of our oldies are arriving in camper vans about 4 days early. So, and our games are on Central and at the netball court. Friday night is a meet and greet with a light meal, a fun auction. Steve Allen from Hokey Smokies coming in, and he's a really good auctioneer. So we're selling a bunch of our really old jerseys. We'll have a historic slides show that night, quiz and things. So Saturday morning starts with a free bus trip, travelling to the Monument, Napa Springs, the Geothermal Industrial Park, Papahawaiki, Pioneer Village, and we're just trying to sort out times, but we're hoping to finish up at Rawene for morning tea. It's just maybe squeezing things in. Back to the club, we have past present golf game happening as well now at the golf club. Then off to netball courts for past present, into Central for the past present rugby. I've just been told that I might be taking 30 people on a bike ride through Kaikohe that morning, because I think I've got e-bikes, so probably the 80-year-olds will be ahead of me. The evening is a traditional hangi. Life membership will be presented to Cheryl and David Haynes that night, and we are finally unveiling our updated honours board, which has been a big job. We've gone right back to 1995 to get that up to scratch, and we're supporting our local businesses as much as we can.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you for all that work that's gone into the preparation. Hopefully we can support that. And we've run out of time for questions, sorry. So thank you for your presentation.
Thank you very much for having me.
Weekend.
I'm sure we will. Thank you.
Bye. Okay, moving on to our next speaker. Here we go. Craig Siu, representing SMC events regarding item agenda 7.2 on page 88 for members. Craig.
Kia ora tātou. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Here you are. Kia ora, Craig.
Kia ora tātou, everyone. My name's Craig from SMC Events, and we're the event management company that deliver Weet-Bix Kids Triathlon around the country. For the last 2 years, we've been fortunate enough to come up to Kaikohe and deliver what was imagined out of kind of the COVID times as being a possible new way forward for the triathlon program. And so the event itself is a free for school students event. And I guess where it sits now is it travels around 24 locations in the North Islands. And so Kaikohe is one of those 24. And it's a free program for schools so that they can take on a physical activity, work towards it, and have an event day experience, much like the Weet-Bix Triathlon, but without having to travel with bike to a triathlon and pay for the experience. So we partner with Sports Northlands. We've had the Healthy Active Learning team in there, and Komini, who's based in Kaikohe, is our main contact there. Last year we were really pleased that the event grew from the initial year, the year prior. And last year we had 762 students from covering 10 schools. They came along to the event day, really well supported. We're still finding a lot of the community coming, and we're getting more and more coming into the village now. The first year they were mostly sitting in cars around the outside of the field, but we had really, really good response last year from the community as well, and had everyone come into the village and join in with the post-event breakfast that we put on. The model itself around the country is that we ask local funders to support a third of the cost of running the program, and the other 2/3 is met by Sanitarium, other sponsors, and what is called the Weet-Bix Foundation. So they cover 2/3 of the expenses of the event, and then we attempt to support the other third locally, and that's the model that we have throughout the North Island and the 24 events we have. It's probably our most successful event. It has, with 762, it actually went over the self-imposed cap of 600 that we have normally for events, and we actually ran 4 events in Kaikohe because it was so popular. The kids that come along, it's for everyone, so we're particularly trying to encourage kids that wouldn't otherwise do physical activity. Everyone gets a free t-shirt, free medal. There's breakfast for not only the Tri-Challenge athletes, but also the community as well. And we've had great buy-in locally. We even have the local fire service come down and man the slip and slide with the hoses. So it's going really, really well in Kaikohe, and we're hopeful that we can get some support to continue the kaupapa up there, as it's probably, well, it is actually our largest event. Yeah, and I just thought I would take any questions that anyone has on Tri-Challenge.
Thank you, Craig. Just a comment from me. I was present at the last one that you had. Was at Lindmark Park, right?
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, really cool. Our kids loved it. And I think it was wet. They loved getting paru and wet. It's just classic. So any questions for Craig? Has information gone out to schools yet? Have you had any registrations of interest from schools?
The feedback from Sport Northland is that, because we do a post-event contact with all the schools loved it. The 10 schools that we had are hoping that it's going to happen again, but we try not to build, we try to get the applications in early and not build expectations. So it's kind of a funding thing first, make sure that we're all steam ahead, and then the feedback is we've got all those 10 schools wanting to be involved again for next. Oh, sorry, the timing of it is mid-March. So we've got a bit of time up our sleeve to get our ducks in a row, so to speak. But the first cab off the rank is making sure that we've got all the funding in place.
Okay. All right, thank you, Craig, for the work that you're doing and for coming north. We sometimes get missed out, so really cool opportunity for our tamariki. Thank you.
Thank you, committee, for your time.
Bye-bye. Moving on to our next speaker, we have Melissa Williams representing Kaikohe Whānau House regarding agenda item 7.2 on page 73. Kia ora, Melissa. Morena.
Firstly, just want to say thank you last time for the support we got last time for opening up. We had a really good open day. We've run 2 terms of playgroup now. We seem to be having about 8 kids, fluctuating from 5 to 8 kids each time. So the building's looking really good, and we just need a little bit more financial support to just do some structural stuff. Most of our invoices are people local that are going to do the work, and we're at a stage now that we can maintain ourselves, so we're able to financially stay open, we've been just about open for a year since our first clean-up, and so we can pay our insurance and power and everything like that. So we're at a stage that we can do that with the renting out of the building, having our homesteaders group and our play group. We just need a little bit more support for doing some structural things that's where we're at.
Any questions from Melissa? Any comments?
And actually, I do just want to say, I think
I have now got
the
report.
I just wanted to.
Because when I had read the report, we didn't have the.
Okay, yeah, I just
so
know I had sent that a couple of times. I just want to make sure.
Yeah,
But
it came in afterwards.
Yeah,
so
okay, cool. Just want to double check on that.
Thank you. Member McVeigh has a question for you.
So you mentioned you've got 8 kids coming through the playgroup, and then you have a homesteaders group using the facilities.
Yeah, so homesteaders group once a month. We have once a month of a gather of 5 to 10 people. It's still small.
Yeah.
And a high house, yeah.
Would you be looking for more groups to utilise?
Yeah, we are really looking for more groups to utilise the building. That would really
that would help
great
with funding.
Yeah, just to keep maintaining the building, really. Yeah, that would be great. Some ideas on how we can get more people to use it would be great.
One quick question. Seems like you're doing a lot of work. How's this all done? Is there a number of volunteers involved, and sort of what numbers are you looking at? How many people are involved down here?
Well, there's about 5 of us mothers in the play group, and then there's another 2 people that are a part of the homesteaders group that are just doing it. But it is me really driving it. It is. I'm the main. And then I ask people to help out, really. People are busy.
How many hours people put in roughly?
Hours.
Yeah.
I'm probably there 4 to 5 hours a week, and then other people are putting in 2 to 3 hours a month, maybe, helping out.
Okay, thank you, Melissa, for the work that you've done to date and for your application today. Thank you. Okay, we have Tiffany McQueen. Tiffany representing Bay Islands Hockey Association. Kia ora, Tiffany.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. As you would have seen in the application, we've got a really exciting opportunity to be a part of the New Zealand Hockey Masters competition, which is the biggest national competition. Normally, like was mentioned earlier, we kind of always get forgotten north of Whangarei for like the hockey especially. We aren't our own standalone association. We do come under the Northern Hockey, but we are a sub-association, so we don't get any financial support or anything. So we run as if we are our own association up here. So today, I'm really speaking to the application that will help us put this event on for, we anticipate, a quarter of all game time and games up here. So we're looking at between teams and draws aren't finalised yet, obviously, but that will be anywhere between 256 and 300 players per day, running from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And that's all run from our volunteer base that run our Humboldt Law Association here. Most of the costs will be towards hireage of everything we kind of need to get it up and running for the week. I know that there is a $7,500 ask in there that to be a part of or to be considered for the initial kind of body, or to be considered to help hold the Masters or co-host with Whangarei. New Zealand Hockey came and said that we needed to have a 7,500 contingency. So that's what that is. So that is something where I think if we get stuck, we can fall back on that. However, Hockey New Zealand, it's kind of unfair at this point, but most likely we will not have to dip into that at all. So that's just because there was some confusion around that one. I think the biggest side for us is that this is a huge opportunity to, it's not so much about hockey, it's about the community, it's about getting people involved, it's about bringing some amazing sports up to this area and really showcase. We want to kind of make Kaikohe and the further bay and the Hokianga a destination, not just somewhere to come play hockey. So hockey's a bonus, whereas coming and playing here is going to be what actually draws people. And the feedback that we've got so far from teams is that they are super excited because the Bay of Islands is always somewhere where a lot of people down south have wanted to come, and this is kind of their excuse to come up and explore and have a game of hockey because it's what they're passionate about, and then spend the rest of the time exploring. And
any questions for Tiffany?
Just to clarify, you said, was it when you're saying here, are you talking about Kaikohe? Like
yes.
There's a bunch of games happening here?
Yeah.
So
we're co-hosting with Northland Hockey and Whangarei and us. So to run the Masters competition, Hockey New Zealand requires 4 turfs. Whangarei have 3 and we're the 4th.
As Kaikohe?
Yes, as Kaikohe, down at Limbo.
Because it says Bay of Islands, so I'm a little bit.
Yeah,
So yeah, absolutely. But yes, it is.
Do we have any local masters? I know I'll have one Polly Wilkinson, but she's not anymore. Richie, what's her name?
Raymond.
Richie is a master. So any other local Hokianga Kaikohe masters? So
hopefully they are all, because that's where Northland put in a team, not Bay of Islands as such. But we should have a really strong, because everyone here normally doesn't like to travel too far, and now that it's on home soil, unfortunately a lot of our volunteers who are helping run it are also of master's age, but we'll be concentrating on helping run it. But yeah.
Okay. Just one question from me. I see in your other funding you've got TAB.
Yep.
You're planning on punting on a horse, or?
Well,
it's that TAB amount and then it's a pendant.
Yeah, so that one, that one is part of, because Hockey New Zealand would like an electronic scoreboard if possible. So those are kind of starting at the 25,000, and that's something that is completely out of reach for us as an association. So that is what that is for, is kind of going outside of the funding.
So this is an application that they've made for this event.
So we have gone to them
okay,
to say this is what we need as a requirement sort of thing. If we don't get it, then we're not holding our breath for it, but it's one of those things where it's kind of the legacy item, so it'll carry on for many, many years.
Any other questions for Tiffany? No, thank you, Tiffany, and well done, the organisation so far, and I hope that we can support you and the youth as well. Thank you. Well, thank you. Okay, our final speaker today, sitting patiently in the corner, Matua Wali Te Huia, here to talk to us about the youth camp, Man versus Wild.
Tēnā koe, tēnā koutou. Just a little bit of a year there. Main versus wild is coming up for next year, which is November. So the purpose I'm here for is for Rangatai, our local youth. If you haven't got photos, there's two pieces of paper going around. I had to go to the Gold Coast, so I couldn't present what I have with me now. Is just getting handed around some information. Did everyone receive a copy?
It's in the sporting.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to talk if there's any questions can stop me. But I guess my purpose is my 17 years being passionate and working with our young people, our youth, our local rangai, 16 and a half years with the police, working in our local community. I attend any sporting event, any activity that's in our community to support their kaupapa, and also being with the police, that gives me an opportunity to reach out to our young people and bridge the gap with our young people in the local police. I do early intervention programs in school. I went to work in the intermediate school with my early intervention program. I'm currently at Northern College running my program there called Toyota. And I'm also working with with our alternative education program. We've got about 12 students here. I've got about 8 students in Northern College. So last year I ran a pilot program with this camp, and I took 7 students from Northern College with me. And a big experience, not only with them, but with me as well. I did have another person who can't be here, blind, can't be here, supporting it. And so I had a qualified guide in regards to what we do in our activities. So, look, the information there, I didn't get through to do our RAMs, our safety procedures that we do operate with once we get to the camp. We are Mahinipoa again this year, which we were there last year, and had a great time. As you could see, I've just taken some kids to Rainbow Team. These are the current kids I'm currently working with at Northern College, and great. I love great kaupapa. Yeah.
Any questions for me?
I guess what I'm looking for here is that I took my own gear last year, and I'm regretting it because some of my rods have been broken, but that's okay. I'll be fixing them since then. I have a year to do it, and I'm almost there. But this year, I guess as you can see, the kids have come with half kits, or some kits, or no kits, and the same with the fishing gear. I'll provide it.
Councillor Kappa, you have a question?
Good, well, totally familiar with the programs that you run previous years. Tell me, how many children from here, where do they move to after the program?
It's ongoing. It's a follow-on because as long as these kids are still engaged in school, still doing it. Holistically, it's with the parents too as well. So there's no stopping for me. Once they come through my program for that season or year, I work on a new lot of kids that the school selects. So, but these kids are always in my program.
And the last question I've got, which is the students that are referred to you, are they attending school?
They are just in school. There's, I've just heard a couple of speakers previously who were talking about cost of living is pretty expensive. We all know that. The aroha that was shared, I guess that's me portraying that leadership upon kids and giving. So this camp is more children payment, which is the kids I took last week are going to come and work with the kids that I'm taking through this year.
Just a couple of questions from me, Wally. One is, does the school contribute to any of the costs?
Yes, they do.
How do the whānau participate?
They do around the food because the schools get allocated with all their food that they distribute for the kids. I do approach the schools for that. Our local businesses, I do approach them. The kids I'm currently taking, just that of which I haven't stated in the document, I get the kids to get involved in their own fundraising. So we did fundraise $430 outside the warehouse. So it's from the beginning to the end. So they do all the funding, and I like to get them engaged. And then the parents come to it.
The food that the school contributes is free food.
Yes.
What other contributions do the schools make? Do they?
For what they have for the kids, you get those snack boxes, fruit containers.
Those are all free things, yes.
Beginning baking, all that natural that we got from.
And what about whānau participation? The whānau of these kids, do they have any input?
Well, probably yes and no, I guess, due to the cost of living and what they can afford.
Not necessarily items, but just, do they know who you are? Do they come and visit kids at Mahinepua? That sort of thing?
Yes, I do have my own documentation that I give permission letters and all that. It's number one priority.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Wally, for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
All right, that ends our speakers for today, everybody. So we'll move on to finding my place in my book.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me just remind us that up.
Yes, Councillor Cup has to leave very shortly, so you'll just exit. Okay, so we're moving to page 8. We have confirmation of previous minutes. The reading. Oh, thanks. And I'll second the recommendation that we confirm the minutes of the meeting 16th of August 2024 is a true and correct record. All those in favour? Aye. Any against? Any abstentions? Carried. Moving on to page 12, item 7.1. Review of Community Grant Policy 2018, moving the recommendation that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board recommend that Council revoke the Community Grant Policy 2018 and B, adopt the Community Board Funding Policy. I'll move that recommendation. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Newsich. Okay, we have it. We also have Lizzie in the room. So Lizzie is the report writer. So Lizzie, if you'd like to come forward, please. I believe we have some questions. Yes, the actual policy, it's on page.
So there is the, in the report, there's the old policy and then the new policy.
They're on, the new one's right, so he's still on in the next.
So the new policy starts on page 32.
Thank you.
The agenda.
Page 32 of our agenda. Right. Have you any questions? Did I not them here? They're on yours. No, here they are. Okay, Lizzie, I have a couple of queries. Shall I just go through them? Yeah, I'll go through them one by one. The first thing isn't really a question, but, oh yes it is. So this policy sits on the website for public to view. Yes. Okay, so one of the comments that I've got is just that, for instance, on page 34, under section 2, policies, priority will be given to proposals which are consistent with or contribute to council's community outcomes. How would the community members know what the council's community outcomes are?
So they are all included in
LTP. And it does say further up in the policy under objective, it says the objective of the policy is to align allocation of grant funding to the community outcomes outlined in each long-term plan.
Yes. So that would mean that an old lady like me would have to go searching around for the LTP, or are there links?
Okay, through the chair, that's actually, we've got an updated funding application form and we list them all on there. So they're not going to have to go and look for them. It comes under the operational side. So we're trying to make it easy.
Right.
But we're also going to ask people to identify which one of them they come into so that they're self-identifying.
All right, because one of my reflections was to add links.
Yeah. That comes under the operations.
Okay.
side.
My second comment is around section 2, the pride and place funding. There's no mention of placemaking, and we're still talking placemaking. Is pride of place fund placemaking?
Yes. Yes, so it was previously the placemaking fund.
So why the change to the pride of place fund? Who came up with that?
Catherine might be best to answer.
I'll stick my hand up on that one. So placemaking was being thrown around a lot, but it had different meanings within council and the different areas of council. And so people were getting very confused, both within council and outside of council, about all this placemaking stuff. So one of the proposals that Bay of Islands suggested yesterday was actually in the first section, and I just scrolled back too far, where we talk about pride of place is just putting in brackets formally placemaking so that the public knows what that is. The difference between placemaking and pride of place is pride of place. Peggy, how did you define this yesterday? I'm having
Through the chair, pride of place is how I described it yesterday to the Kitty Whangaroa board, was that pride of place is more, gives the idea of more community-led development, community-led smaller projects. When you're looking at a placemaking project, especially with a council lens, it can become a much bigger kind of activity. Pride of place was really to ensure that communities can look at smaller projects that aren't those huge infrastructure built. It might be a smaller activity that reflects something that they'd like to see, as opposed to something that is more around council driven. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know much better.
All right. Just a comment from me. If you've got to explain a title in a policy, then it's too complicated. Full stop. That's me. Right, next thing. The word tangata whenua in section 3, number 2, provide evidence that they have actively involved tangata whenua. Is there an explanation around what tangata whenua is? What's the definition of tangata?
So there is a definition
the very first
in the policy under definitions, but there was a lot of discussion about that definitions there. On page 32 under definitions. It's got tangata whenua.
Yeah, so what are territorial rights? That to me sounds like a patent.
So there was a suggestion yesterday that we change that to interests.
Oh, what was the suggestion made?
To change territorial rights instead to read interests. Because you might have some.
I like that better than territorial rights.
But through the chair, just has Te Hono had input into that definition? That's their definition of it.
But yeah, they were involved in that part of the policy.
I suppose just my question would be around what's the purpose of using that term tangata whenua?
So I spoke to some of the staff in Te Hono about that because it originally was mana whenua, and they advised for us to use tangata whenua so it's consistent with other documents that are used within council.
And it's ensuring that we're making sure that a voice that is historically not necessarily included is most definitely included in consultations and things, because I'm going to get myself in trouble here. I know that a lot of people have gone out and spoken to the community, and then we find that the mana whenua, tangata whenua, have not actually been involved because they're not part of the community groups that have been spoken with. So it's trying to make sure that everyone's voice is most definitely heard, and making it a priority to make sure that everyone's voice is heard.
So I understood that there were some policies that actually specified consultation to be one with community and the other to be with Hakuiwi.
I can only speak to this policy.
And just my final comment is number 3 under section 3, the following are not eligible for funding, and I've mentioned it here before, just the fact that government agencies are still able to come to here to request funding.
And it's up to the boards whether they choose to fund them or not. People can make an application. You can make an out of policy decision if you choose to. It's up to each board, and each board has different priorities.
Forgive me if I missed something here, but in terms of the overall amount of money that going forward that community boards will allocate, has pride of place, is that just stayed the same, or have we, so there's some changes in the policy but the amount is still the same? We haven't lost any money at all. Triple checking.
100%.
And final comment from me, sorry I forgot, was just repeat applicants, and I'm talking about individuals here that year after year apply for, $50 worth of, I don't know.
$1,800 worth of sand.
Yes, so I'm just aware of.
Pointed categories. Well, you want an example? I gave you an example.
I'm just, I just have a concern about that.
Again, that is a board decision whether you choose to fund those ongoing.
But if it was written in a policy, then it wouldn't become a board's decision. It would be, we'd be following the policy. So it's kind of saying, oh, we're not going to make that call. We'll leave it to you guys, eh?
Well, we don't want to restrict the boards and what they can and cannot fund. And the other boards do have ones that come back to them every year that they are happy to fund. So you don't want to put something in there that excludes it as a single. But what we are putting together to go alongside the application form is a guidance on each board's priorities. So what a board would like to fund the most and what they prefer. And I use the word prefer very carefully, prefer not to fund.
That's good. Right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got questions. I mean, firstly, a comment on that one. You'll find that different boards and successive boards have different priorities. The previous two boards loved the idea of putting sand on a beach, and the next one might as well. So I don't think you can restrict them. And why did we change? Why did we change activities deemed objectionable or that promote unhealthy behaviour to simply activities deemed objectionable?
Because we have the objectionable behaviour gets a bit, can be an issue. Alcohol consumption, for example.
So is that objectionable or unhealthy?
It can be both. And we have another board that funded an event that was alcohol-based. So it was trying not to restrict too much what a board will or will not fund.
Yeah, and who gets to deem?
The board.
And why is that in the policy?
Because we still need to have options for the board to decline if they choose to, and they can hang on that one if they choose to. Cool, thank you.
Sounds good to me.
Thanks, Catherine. Any further questions?
Yeah, I do. Just a little bit of concern about a few things. Up here, they point out we're actually having lead. So if you're saying Punga Whenua and then you've got a fairly loose, anybody, if you're going to change it, anybody that's actually is interested in the area, that's a big scope.
So
everybody
the explanation we had from someone sitting there yesterday was their tangata whenua is actually based down in the middle of the North Island. That's where her iwi is. But she lives up here. So if it was limited to simply hapu and iwi, then she would not be able to have a say, although she lives up here.
And that's exactly a good example of what was concerning me. So that means someone from Wellington can come up here if we're making a decision in a particular community. They haven't lived here for several generations, but they say, oh, that, you know, I've got some sort of connection. And if they've got some sort of connection, surely they're connected to one of the hapu or not, and they should go through structures that are in place that can do that.
I think with this, it's more about ensuring that the Māori lens is definitely included in applications. What we are going to put in our guidance is that when we are talking about the consultation that's required with tangata whenua, we can give you contacts, we can give you context around what that involvement should be or could look like. I don't think this is going to be about someone down in Invercargill saying, I need to have a say in this because I'm tangata whenua.
But we also, why I'm pushing the point is that, because I've seen examples right here when we're actually naming a road, and we had somebody said, this is the road, and they were tangata whenua, and then the hapu came along and said no. You know, so I don't want to get into the argument.
So when we're asking for evidence though, we can look at that evidence and go, hang on, why is this person having a say? Because
but then you're making a decision that you said basically they have a right to speak to.
Well, they can have a say.
Yeah, and well, they still can. Anybody doesn't have a say.
Exactly.
So I'd actually rather look at hapu actually having more weight, and because that's formally there. I know how difficult things can actually get in past experience. So that's one point. It's probably a bit of a caution about that one. The other one is, which is probably more of a concern, contribute to council's community outcomes. That in community-led and community wellbeing, community of their own plans. Community board is, sorry?
What page is that?
That's the page 35. I think you said something. About tricky. And communities got community plans. So I actually, when you say communities need to actually do their own placemaking and feel that they can get involved, well, it shouldn't be what the LTP says, because a lot of this fits outside of the LTP. LTP is usually about roads, sewage, and various other things, which is important to the community board. I don't make it wrong, and people should have said it. But when you're getting down to very specific things that may not be mentioned, are you going to ignore it? And I know a lot of communities have feel neglected with community plans, which are not like classic example is our showcase tour at Mangamuka that we put in there for tourists getting out by here last stop before Kaikohe, a long drive. You know, so and that community wants to tidy it all up and do all of that, and it's taking time and time. That's their highest level, that's their high priority. It's not on the LTP.
I'm just going to, if you look at page, scroll down. For example, page 38 in your agendas, where we've got the table there, every single one of the funding applications that come through meets at least one of the community objectives. And you have those listed in there. And your community objectives are vibrant communities, prosperous communities supported by a sustainable economy, communities that are safe, connected and sustainable, communities prepared for the unexpected, a wisely managed and treasured environment that recognises the role of tangata whenua as community, So again, tangata whenua is mentioned in our council objectives, and that we embrace and celebrate our unique culture and heritage and value it as a source of enduring growth. So if there is any funding application that comes through that does not interact with at least one of those, that would be an extremely I can't think of any applications we've had that did not meet at least one or two of those outcomes.
Yeah, maybe I'm being a bit overly cautious, but I know Kaikohe community using examples while it's sitting there. There's many examples. And the classic example of that was to purchase some of the land that was vacant. That actually came to the community board, also went through council, and council made a resolution to go ahead and do it. Never actually occurred. I guess the council priorities.
It would have met at least one of three. It would have met a proud, vibrant community and a community that was safe, connected and sustainable.
I think it was actually sold to somebody else before they got it. So I mean, in that particular case, poor example, because it wasn't, I mean, it was sold out front of us.
No, it wasn't. No, I seriously wasn't. It actually took so long, it was eventually sold out.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. But so the lack of response and that was not a condition to capture the individual. But maybe the poor example, but I'm a little bit concerned that I don't want.
It is in the current policy as well. It has been since at least 2016.
Maybe it is, but yeah, I just want the community board here to actually have freedom. And you probably know this, it's not that on goal obviously be making it. It's that I see communities actually being overruled by council.
Can I make a comment on that in section 1, number 1, under the policies, it talks about in line with the community board strategic plans. So while I understand not all boards will create strategic plans in the future or so on, that's a shift, isn't it? That's a new thing that gives us more direction, or it gives the applicants more direction to be in line with the strategic plans, which presumably all boards build them out of the wishes of their community. So that potentially supports what you're talking about, and it's actually through community priorities that are reflected in community board strategic plans, rather than necessarily the outcomes, which are quite broad and what's not to like really when you read them.
Look, and so I'm not saying there's probably showstoppers here. I'm just wondering, I've just maybe been a bit pedantic about some potential.
Not you, John.
Sorry?
Not you. Pedantic.
It can't be that. But certainly like having community plans, and that's sort of what Jesse is saying is really another, having community plans going forward, because that's one of the biggest complaints we get on here, is that our community plans are being ignored. So we actually get them going forward, and personally some of the funding, when I look at it, should be directed more to better community outcomes, not something that just goes on and on and on. That's pretty much not sustainable.
Would that be resolved by adding community plans into section 1, policy 1? That it's not just community board strategic plan and or community plans, because then that takes care of what you're talking about. My issue with that is that, are we even doing community plans anymore? Is there anybody guiding them? Our ones in our area on the whole are very old and need an update if we were to try and use them.
In my response to that, I was critical comment would be look at the placemaking that we currently doing. Russell, for example, picking up on the community plan placemaking, and look at some here. That's a place where we've got to define. Focus on here.
Community driven by very strong and established groups that are in the Bay of Islands.
That's good.
So we've had a discussion. Are we ready to move on that motion? We've had a motion on the floor and it's been seconded, so we'll get back to the vote. All those in favour? Aye. Aye. And any against? Right, that has been moved. Thank you. Thank you, Lizzie. Where are we? Okay, we're at funding applications.
I need to move this with the X, but also perhaps a discussion on public excluded as well, because names might come up in our discussions.
Are you talking about the first recommendation, or are you talking?
I'm just doing it collectively. We can move them all collectively with the X and then have a discussion.
Before we start, can I just express a conflict of interest over number? Whatever
yes.
Yeah, I'm a member, so.
That's what we did last time. One of some of the other reports first, while he's here. We could do those and then come back to the there. You wish. I just think that there will be I'll need a second. There'll be some public.
So you're talking about every single application there being some items to.
No, what he would say is this gets moved in its entirety with all the blanks. And then any discussion with names moves into public exclusion, and then move out and finish.
Yes, we have done that previously, but some items didn't require any public exclusion.
It's not worth going in and out.
No, you can mention names, that's okay. It's just the addresses and contact details are the bits that we don't.
But is there other information that
You would only
that members have to share?
Yeah, so you'd only put names and information.
Okay, would you like to move that motion then, Councillor Besich?
Yeah, I'll move it all with links. Generally, it's filled in later on.
And I second it all.
Those in favour?
And then, we'll do that one time. And then public excluded,
for a short period of time until the stuff that doesn't need to be excluded comes.
Or you may just wait for just to come back into the room. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we do. Okay, all right. So we'll have the live stream stopped. Please just sorry, motion to go into PX. Okay.
I'll move it down into PX for those reasons.
Yeah, one second.
But to protect the privacy of individuals.
The vote. All those in favour? Aye. Any against? Any abstention?
Jesse, should we pause at this stage? Should we just wait for Jesse?
We haven't paused the live quite yet. We will now.
Can you please pause the live stream?
And wait for you.
Thank you, everybody. We have moved out of PX back into our public meeting, so welcome back, everybody. We are on funding applications, and we'll go to the first recommendation that we approve the sum.
I'll move an amendment there to be $5,000.
The mix is to 5,000. Yeah, I was
Move sum of $5,000 to be paid to the Bay Islands Hockey Association. We've got a mover and a seconder. All those in favour? Aye. It's carried. Any abstentions? No. Second recommendation, that we approve the sum of $5,000 to the Kaikohe Rugby Football Sports Club. I'll move that for the 2024 reunion. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Member McVeigh. All those in favour? Aye. And we have one abstention. Thank you, Member Edmonds. Third recommendation is that we approve the sum of $6,000 to the Kaikohe Fishing Hunting Sports Club. I'll move that. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Vusic. All those in favour? Aye. Any against? Any abstentions? That's carried. The next motion.
I'll move the amendment with $2,000.
Man versus Wild, we have a recommendation of $2,000. Thank you, Member McVeigh. I second that. All those in favour? Aye. Any abstentions? Any against? No, that is carried. The Okaho Whānau House, do we have a mover for the? Or any, we have a move of $1,000 for the Okaho Whānau House. I'll second that recommendation. All those in favour? Aye. Any against? Any abstentions? The next recommendation is that we fund Whitty Brass Band 90-year anniversary, $8,000. I'll move that recommendation. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Vusic. All those in favour?
Mike actually.
Oh, Mike seconded that. All those in favour? Aye. Any against? Any abstentions? No, that has been carried. The SMC Events Pie Series. Do we have a mover for that amount? Member $2,000. Do I have a seconder for $2,000? Thank you, Councillor Vusic. All those in favour? Aye. Any against? Any abstentions? No, that's carried. The centre, Kids Are Stinky.
Yeah, I'll give the recommendation for it.
Member Edmonds agrees, kids are stinky. And we have a seconder for that. Thank you, Member McVeigh. All those in favour? Aye. Any against? Any abstentions? No. And the final recommendation for the Northland Community Family Service Financial Mentoring and whānau Support. I would like to move that we decline, we move that amount of no dollars. I'll move that. Member Edmonds second for that. All those in favour? Aye. Any against? Any abstentions? That has been carried. Thank you. I did feel like an option. Sorry. Trying to boot it. 7.3 on our agenda. We have project funding reports received from Hokianga Community Education Trust, Hokianga Bowling Club, Kaikohe Community Library, Momentum Charitable Trust, Ngāmahi Toi o Kurike, Raoni Golf Family Fun Day, SNC Events Kids Try Series, and Volunteering. Thank you, Member Edmonds. I'll second that. Do you have any discussion around any of the reports? All those in favour? Say aye. Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? No. 73. Moving to item 7.4. We have two reports. Do we have two reports? We do. We have my report and Deputy Chair Tanya Felia's reports. I'll take those as read. Any discussion around those? Oh, you've moved in. Thank you. And Member McVeigh has seconded one.
Just one comment I noticed was the as regarding the Cocoa Rugby Ground speed young. There was one other, I think, and that was the road. as well as historic roads. There is a North Hokianga group being formed to look at dealing with some of those roads which needs to be formed. I'm positive that we'll see some better results, plus some changes that council will make internally. Get better results as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll move those reports. All those in favour? Aye. Any against? Any abstentions? They've been moved. Item 8.1, Hokianga Ferry Liaison Group Meeting, 18th of July 2024. Move that. Report.
I'll do that. Yep.
Thank you. I'll second that. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like
Yes,
to discussion. It says in here that on page 143 that they're disappointed that the elected members are not attending. Yeah, I would, since that's in this report for public, I'd like to say that I have put in notice to them that I cannot attend on Thursdays and they continue to have their meetings on Thursdays. So I continue to put in my apologies.
Thank you. Okay, and the reason you don't attend the meetings?
Is because I have to work, and if I don't get work, I don't get paid.
These sound pretty feasible to me, very sensible. Any further discussion?
So through the chair, we discussed that with the ferry liaison staff member and also Aisha, and we'll.
Thank you. That's great. And there's always the opportunity, if there are pertinent items on their agenda that are relevant, particularly relevant to the community board member, then,
Absolutely.
There are other ways of communicating that and getting information.
Absolutely want to support should my support be needed.
Okay.
So I'll forward out a copy of the terms of reference for you all, so you can also just review what we've said.
Thank you. Okay, so we've moved to that report and somebody seconded. All those in favour? Aye. Any against? Any abstentions? No. Item 8.2, the open resolution report. I'll move that report. I'm seconder. Thank you, Member Edmonds. Any discussion around the resolution report?
Just happy that the placemaking for Kaikohe is moving ahead, and Linda Bracken mentioned, there's always discussion at the start to set the scope of the work, and I just support the fact that's happening.
Thanks, Ms. Bayes. We've had 3 really good meetings, and we've got some staff attending the next KBA meeting to do a presentation on where we're at so far. So that's really good. Councillor Jessup, it's going really well. All right. There being no further business, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Aye. No abstentions and no any other things. So that's that. Thank you. So there ends our meeting. Would somebody like to close our meeting? You've given me the odds. Would you like to close it? Oh, you're pointing your finger at us, Mr. Riley.
I would just like to thank you. That little cake out there is the first time that's ever happened. It's never happened to anybody else that I know of. And it truly and genuinely is really appreciated. It's a lovely little touch. We've lived 90 years just to see that.
We're trying to keep it quiet, Sean, because now every night you're off.
Now you have everyone rocking up to Thorpe Road for a party this Saturday night, you realise?
Yeah, but also, Sean, you just a shout out to you. You've been on the community board. You've done a lot of work for the community over the years. You always kept us honoured, and so you have put a lot into the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. And I have to say that most of that thanks must go to this young lady over here, because she sought out a cake baker and she knew that you liked fruit cake, so she picked the raisins from the raisin tree and ground the flour. Thanks, and you're amazing. I hope I live to 90, I think. But you're welcome, Mr. Riley.
Thank you.
Okay. And with that, we'll close, and Imri's going to close for us. Thank you, Imri. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. You've got 7 minutes to spare. Don't